Welcome to Lab Results. I am Marty Monaghan, Vice Chair for Black Man Lab. And tonight with me, I have my brother, Joe Barker, a fellow board member of Black Man Lab. And we're going to have a great conversation tonight. This stems from our online presence that we had with COVID causing us to go do all of this work online. But last Monday, fortunately, and God willing, going forward, we will be doing our in-person sessions again with consistency. So we didn't want to lose our online presence, so we started Lab Results. Lab Results is a more in-depth conversation with some of our guests that we've either had in the past, or guests that can speak to the topic matter that we talk on Monday. Every Monday we'll have a different topic, and we'll continue that through this conversation as well. Before I go any further, I'm gonna bring my brother Joe on just to say hello, and then we can move forward. Joe?
Hey man, you know what? This is I'm going to advocate for this space because I know it was a great thing for us to be back in space. But for those that do follow us and have been through following up on some of our YouTubes and just some of the different topics we've been doing for a year, first and foremost, I want to say thank you all. Whether it was a few of y'all, a lot of y'all, or just one of y'all, thank you. We've had some amazing panelists. We've had some amazing and extremely powerful conversations that Marty has led and that we've been able to unpack. And, I'll say 2021 specifically, we have focused a lot on educating the conversation with one another, whether it's us learning something from our panelists understanding some things that our audience might be navigating. And so I'm very grateful that we will continue this space on Wednesday nights, so we can have brothers on here that can continue to inform us and educate us in a manner that, people can go back and look at when they might have time or view us live and whatnot. But I'm really excited about this, Marty. Thanks for having my back on continuing to have this space in some form or format. Even though I was the first one to say, man, y'all ain't gonna get every single night from me.
Yeah, Joe, I was concerned, man. You were running from me, brother.
I was. You're right. I was. I had to pray on that, and I was like, you know what? Nah, I need to run into this because this is too much to help the community. We have to keep pushing this forward.
Absolutely. So again, we're happy to be here. We're happy for our guests tonight. We have a great guest with us tonight who actually was on a panel with us about 3-4 weeks ago.
About 3 weeks ago. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and he was amazing then, and I had requests to bring him back, and so this works out perfectly that we were able to bring back Dr. Antwan Butler. Dr. Butler, how are you?
I'm doing excellent, Marty and Joe. Appreciate you guys bringing me back on, and I just want to thank you guys for the exceptional work that you're doing for our African-American men and young boys in the community. So, man, I'm excited to be here.
Man, glad to have you as well. We know your story is a great one, and we want you to share that tonight. Before we get started, real quick, as we always start every session, we always talk about from whence we came. Black Man Lab started roughly almost 5 years ago now, of four fathers that had gotten together with their sons to give their sons a different voice. We know quite often as fathers that have boys that our sons will tune us out, but they might listen to an uncle, a godfather, a close friend, or a confidant in some sort of way. And so that's what that was about. It started as just four fathers with their sons. And after those conversations, those kids got to go play basketball. So that was the caveat, the carrot that was hanging there for them to listen. But they actually did listen. And not only that, they started bringing other friends into the space. With that, we started bringing in other voices as well from different aspects of life to give them other information. So that wound up growing to us being at the Andrew and Walter Young YMCA, having over 250 Black men in the same room, sharing, interacting, and as we call it, being in a safe and sacred space for Black men. And of course, with COVID, we had to flip it around. So we started doing the virtual piece, which allowed us to be in other cities and also allowed us to have other brothers on that were in other cities. So that actually helped us to be able to expand the voice of Black Man Lab. So we're appreciative of that. Even though it was a different space, we still were able to reach out. So today we're back in person on Mondays. We're really excited about that because that you can't explain the energy in that room. It's hard. It's really hard for me to quantify that, but it's a beautiful thing. But we did not want to lose this, as I said before, because we're able to bring in great brothers like Dr. Butler here. So we are excited about that. Before I move any, go ahead. What were we gonna say, Joe?
One thing I want to add right quick, Marty. I just want to, as we begin to dig into the topic on Monday night, from Monday night with Dr. Butler, I just want to say Monday was raining, pouring down. And when I tell you how hungry the community here in Atlanta was, there were no seats left. Like, we're social distancing. We had registration online for X amount of seats only, provided some lunches or some dinners for that evening. And there was those seats were packed, man. And I think that says a lot. That's not me bragging. That's me saying why it's necessary that we do this, because under rain, I mean, there's people that don't go vote if it's raining, but they can in the Black Man Lab. I ain't bragging about that. That should not be the case. But that is how hungry our community is to hear brothers like Dr. Butler and Gary Davis and all the brothers that were on the panel on Monday evening. So just great job by you and Maui hosting that on Monday, coming back for the first time with limited seating, but still full. So appreciate y'all doing that, man.
Yeah, again, that energy, that space is just really hard. Every time I try to explain it to people, I know that I'm not doing a great job of it because it's so hard to quantify, man. Just the energy of having a room full of Black men that are all on the same page, and it's about nothing but learning and love, if you will, So anyway, what we want to do before we get started, man, I just want to make sure that we stand on the shoulders of those that came before us. I want to make sure that we are bringing our ancestors into the space, because I know, and I know these brothers here with me tonight know, that we could not do any of the work that we do without those that came before us. So with that, I'm just going to ask each of you guys to call out the name of an ancestor that we want to have in the space. And after we call each name, we're just going to say Ashe. Joe, you want to start?
Ben Barker, my grandfather. Love him to be here with us.
Ashe. Brother Butler.
George Butler, my grandfather.
Ashe. And I will call Sylvester Williams, my grandfather. Ashe. All right. So we got some ancestors here with us. And then we know all those that are behind them as well are with us. So with that, we're going to move forward and get into the conversation. So first and foremost, Brother Butler, can you just give a quick introduction of yourself? And then we're going to delve a little deeper into that as well. So go ahead.
Yes, sir. So Antwan Butler, I'm in the great state of Louisiana, in the city of Shreveport by way of Tampa, Florida. And I've been here in Shreveport for about 15 years by way of the greatest university that ever hit the earth realm, Grambling State University. I'm a graduate of the master's program in 2005. And I'm a licensed clinical social worker here. Do pastor a church here as well, and I just do a host of other things in the community, mostly in the community around helping Black men and young Black boys. And I'm an advocate for mental health care. So I try to do as much as I can with workshops and seminars and trainings and mentorship around really helping the disenfranchised that struggle with mental health care, who really are at the back of the line but have special gifts and talents that aren't readily seen by our culture, and helping to use my gifts and my talents and my shoulders to bring those people to the forefront so that they can have a purpose and a future. So I believe that's the reason why I was born, and why the reason that I continue to be here. So I love what I do, love my work. Been married 16 years, got 3 boys, 11, 9, and 6. And I love coming home every day. So that's me in a nutshell.
That's awesome. That's great stuff, brother. One of the things we want to do here at Lab Results is we talk about, we always have talked about what people do, but we want to talk about what got them there, right? So what I want to start with is tell me about where you grew up and how you grew up.
Yeah, so and I often share this story, and I'll preface by saying this: anybody who wants to ask me about anything, I share. I've been sharing it, it's the last 10 or 15 years, so I'm an open book about it. I just believe that it helps people. But I originally grew up in Tampa, Florida, really in the streets. Most of my childhood, I was homeless. Both of my parents were heroin addicts, and I slept a lot of days outside. Sleeping from pillar to post, as uh, some of our senior saints would say. But I actually slept on a park bench about 400, 500 feet away from where my biological father resided. He was struggling with heroin and a host of other things, and he just didn't, I guess at that time, really consider me a priority. So I was raised by the streets, and sold drugs, broken houses, man, anything that you can name in the street life, I pretty much did it. And I roamed around till I was about 13 years old. I dropped out of school in the 8th grade, and I had an opportunity to go live with my paternal grandfather and grandmother, and I spent a couple of years there, and they were Christian people that were grounded in I guess what you would say a wholesome lifestyle, and I really wasn't used to that, so they did the best they could with me. But I eventually left there, went back out into the streets, and I did graduate from high school. Where I was from, you needed a 1.5 GPA to graduate. I had a 1.5000. So I got out of that thing by the hair of my chin. But the only thing that really kept me interested in school was because I played basketball. And you needed a 1.5 GPA to stay on the basketball team. And basketball was my getaway. And that's where I found any pro-social friends I did have. I found them on the basketball team. So I did graduate from high school, and even though I didn't do well in school, I didn't know that I wasn't dumb until I actually got to undergraduate school, because I had been told that so much, and that I was slow and didn't have common sense. And partly because in elementary school I had a really bad stutter, so I just felt like school wasn't for me. So I was going to find something else to do with my life. But anyway, I ended up graduating from high school, and I was getting ready to get signed up for the military. Scored really well on the ASVAB test, and I was going to the Air Force to do, I forgot what the job was, to do accounting. That's what it was. And I was sleeping at a home of one of the guys who played on my basketball team. I was sleeping at his house. We graduated high school together. His mom let me stay with them, and her only thing was, as long as you got a job, you can stay here. So I stayed with him, and I eventually got introduced to his brother. His brother was an assistant coach at a local junior college in Tampa Bay, right across from Raymond James Stadium, where the Buccaneers won the championship. But anyway, so I went to practice with him one day.
Had to throw that in there, didn't you?
No issue with the Saints, nothing like the home team. But so I went to a practice with his brother's older brother was an assistant coach. He was kind of trying to mentor me at the time. And I went to a practice one day with him, and I was sitting on the bench, I had a couple of weeks before I was going to go into the military. And I was watching them practice, and one of the guys got hurt on the team. My assistant coach asked the head coach, he said, well, can he step in to the guy just for the remainder of practice? Since he got, hurt, he played high school ball, so he can just fill in for this evening. And man, for some reason I came and filled in, man. I played the best ball of my life. I've never played like that. And the coach offered me a scholarship. He said, I'd like for you to stay on. I told him my issue with the military. He was like, well, how many times did you swear in? I said, I only swore in once. I hadn't sworn in the second time. And he said, I think you have to swear in twice. So I went and checked in with Sergeant Rouse, who was over me at the time. He's like, no, you got to swear in twice, but we really want you to go. So I ended up not going. I stayed and played on the basketball team. And the one of the guys on the basketball team who was from New Orleans, he was actually a year ahead of me. So I was a freshman. He was a sophomore. He kind of took me in, man. His parents were sound. He loved God, man. He loved young people at such an age. He was radical for helping black men at such a young age. He took me in and just taught me stuff, and I learned really a lot of what I know from him. And from there, um, I kind of lived in different places, in junior college. And eventually I ended up living with another guy on the basketball team who took me in. And that was the last person I stayed with. And they ended up still being my parents to this day. But I ended up leaving junior college. I got offered another scholarship to play ball at Southwest Baptist University in Missouri. My foster parents at the time sent me on to that university. And I was there for 2 years. It's the first time I experienced what I considered to be overt racism. I grew up in a very diverse culture, like it was Black, white, Hispanic, Japanese. So I had, seen, instances of racism, but I never really personally experienced it until my level of consciousness. When I got to this university, it was 5,000 people. There was only 48 of us that were African American. So the kids that I would go to class in the daytime, these kids would chase me at night in their pickup trucks with their Confederate flags on the back. Wow. So I've been in situations where I've been in some of my friends' room at the university, and they told me these guys are looking for me. I've had to hide under beds all night, hide under closets, experience teachers giving me failing grades just because I missed the day and all that type of stuff. Man, it was really a culture shock to me because I had not been prepared for that. Nobody had ever talked to me about racism. I had never heard that in the schools. I never really heard that in my community because we were all, where I lived, we were all, kind of mixed up and poor. And man, it shocked me for the first year, but the second year, I started adjusting. And I say, okay, this is what it's like. This is what it is. And I have to start learning some things. And I have to learn what these signals mean. And when they say that, that's what this means. And I really, my survival mode kicked in. And anyway, I ended up graduating from there. My GPA was really low. I graduated in sociology. And I realized that I couldn't do anything with that degree per se. I couldn't get a job. Somebody told me, why don't you go get a master's degree? Since the God's honest truth, Joe and Marty, I had no idea what a master's degree was. I just knew it was something else that I could do that might have helped. So I had a guy on my team who was from Homer, Louisiana. He said, man, listen, I'm going to get a degree in social work. I think you'd be good at it. You like talking to people. People like you. I want you to come to where I'm coming. I said, where you going? He said, I'm going to Grambling. So I heard of that school. I don't know anything about it. He said, why don't you come check out the campus? Marty and Joe, he took me to Grambling's campus. And the first 30 minutes, I lost my mind. I lost my mind.
Had you at hello, huh?
I had never seen so many sisters in one place, like that looked like African queens, brother. I promise you. Exactly. And so I went back to my university, and I was trying to, supposed to get into the program, and my grades were subpar. So I just started checking all the other universities around the country to get in. And they were like, man, your grades too bad. There's no way you can even approach this university. And a lady from Grambling State University called me, and I'm getting emotional thinking about it now. A lady from Grambling State University called me, and her name was Della Wills. And she's the late great Della Wills, and she ended up being my supervisor to help me get my clinical license. And she called me and she said, I'll let you come. She said, but I'm going to bring you in on academic probation. Okay. And she said, you come here, you can't make a seat. She said, but, I heard a little of your past and I believe in you. She said, but I'm going to let you come. She said, but you can't make me look bad. It was the second time in my life outside of the guy from my college who believed in me. And when she said it, man, it's like I heard something in her voice. It was like this maternal instinct of like, somebody believe in me and they not just saying it. And so I ended up going down there, man. It was the first time in my life that I ever took school seriously. And I realized that I could learn you know, and that I was smart. I didn't know that, nobody ever told me that. And I ended up being the president of the organization of the School of Social Work and stuff like that. And man, when I tell you, Grambling University built me up. I mean, from the ground floor up, they helped me understand who I was and what my worth was, and they were just so supportive of me. And I had never had that before. And my professors just loved on me, and they just, they said, "We count on you. We're gonna push you. We're gonna give you everything you need," and they did. And I ended up having some classmates there, and they understood, where I was with my faith and stuff. And they said, "Man, we know this lady who we think would be perfect for you. We know you're not dating, but we got this girl." And one of my friends took me to the registrar's office, and my wife was standing in the hallway. And she may be on here, I don't know, but she'll confirm it. When I saw her, I said, "Oh, you my wife." And I never looked back. And I've been with her ever since. And I promised the late Della Wills, I said, I remember what you did for me, and I'm going to make sure that I give back to my community what you gave to me. And I made sure that I was going to give back to young Black men, young Black boys who've been in my situation. We just needed one person to believe in them. I said, as long as I got breath in my body, I'm going to be there to at least somebody every day that I can be. And God has blessed me. We have I have a great men's group here that I get an opportunity to fellowship with. Do a young men's group called Flame, Future Leaders of America, Mentoring Excellence, where I teach them simplistic skills like handshakes, how to introduce yourself, how to walk, how to show confidence, the difference between, success and failure, using key words like thank you, yes, sir, no, ma'am, how to present yourself in public. So that's been a blessing. My ministry's been a blessing, and that's been my life's work. Been through a lot of hell, trauma, rape, molestation, left, abandoned, abused, at the bottom, whatever the bottom is, I've been there before. But by the grace of God, He's allowed me to be here today. So I'm grateful for every day that I give.
Man, so much to unpack there, Brother Butler, man. Thank you so much for your vulnerability, man. Like, probably more important than any other thing Marty and I can ask you, I will say thank you for being vulnerable. Black men in our communities think we still have to put up this shield. I look at these posts on Instagram, and brothers that I'm close to, brothers that I rock with, they're like, yeah, I had to keep up my shield because XYZ, because these females this, these females that. And I get it, but man, thank you for showing that, man, because I'll tell you, like you, I got 3 sons, and it was a wow. I would say they were probably in their adolescent years or early teen years before I realized I need to show them what vulnerability looks like. Because if they don't see it from me, they're never going to learn it.
Yes, sir.
You gotta see it from daddy, So man, just so many questions I want to ask. I'm gonna let Marty, if you guys.
Yeah, I'll jump in and I'll second what Joe just said there, and that's oddly enough, one of the things that I have a tough time articulating when we're in the Black Man Lab live space on Mondays is that yep. Vulnerability and the willingness of us as Black men to show that vulnerable side of ourselves. And that's what that space allows for. So thank you for putting it here so that our viewing audience can see that and feel that, because it's definitely felt. What I will say also is what's interesting is, there's a couple of things there that you, through all of that you unpack, there's so much good stuff there. But one thing that I would say is that, your faith helped you to be open to follow it. You know what I mean? And what I mean by that is so often we think we have the answers, right? And you kept getting pointed to the direction that you needed to go. Not only that, we're talking about here tonight, excelling and achieving. And what clearly happened for you was that you got pointed in that direction several times, ultimately to, what was her name? Miss Wills? What was her name?
Miss Della Wills.
Della Wills, yeah. ultimately to her being kind of your stamp to pushing you to understand all that you are. And then of course, Grambling, nurturing it even further. That's the conversation, right? That's the conversation that we really should be having with our young folks is I'd venture to say 99.9% of our young folks have that, right? Where given the right opportunities and pointed in the right directions, that they can excel and achieve just like you're doing right now.
Yeah.
So that's a great piece of your story, and that's a great piece for our people to take with them. Anybody that listens to your story, take that with them. Anything's possible, provided you follow what the Creator puts in front of you, and somebody's reaching back to get you because they're there. They're there. So, Joe, were you going to say something else there?
Yeah. So just a few questions I have, man, and we only do have an hour, so I don't want to consume it all, but I do want to unpack a little bit what you said, especially tying it in with Monday. So one of the things I guess I'll start at the end and go back. One of the things I want to ask you, Brother Butler, is you do so much for the community, and we're not here patting each other on the back. What I want to unpack is, and I think I know, but I want to hear you explain and talk to it. What motivated you to do that? Like, I think you already said in that story, but I need the audience, and I want to hear what made it so important for you to continue this path. You said you started a mentoring group. You got a men's group. Like, you're steady pushing the community forward in a space where they can understand and be together. Like, what's motivating you for that? Because that's not easy work.
You guys hear me?
Yeah.
Yeah, I hear you now.
Can you hear us?
Can you hear us?
Okay, I lost reception for a minute. I'm sorry. I missed the last part of what you said, Brother Joe.
So yeah, what is your motivation, man? Basically, like, you do so much for the community and you're so committed.
Yeah.
What's your motivation behind that?
I get asked that all the time, and I'll be honest with you, it's probably changed multiple times, and I mean changed by addition. I think it started with something, and other responsibilities have been added. When I use that word responsibility, I mean it in such a context. The two root words put together, response and able. I have an ability to respond. So every time I learn that I'm able to do something, then I think it's my responsibility to add it on what I believe I'm supposed to be doing. But I think the first motivation was just that I have a deep, heartfelt love for people. Like, I didn't put it there. I know the Creator put it there, and in particular, people that look like me. So I didn't want people hurting like I hurt, and I had an answer, or I had at least some semblance of support to be able to help out. And it started with like just one person, and then it grew. It's like, okay, this guy helped me. I'm like, can you help him? Okay, I'll try. Then let's help him. And then, okay, how about we help him? And then it kind of grew that way. And then it just turned into something that I just realized for me was a calling. And so primarily, I just, I really feel like I'm called to do it, and I'm responsible to it. And that's what gets me, going. And I just don't want to see people go through what I went through, and somebody can do something about it. So at the essence, I think that's what it is.
Gotcha. That makes a lot of sense. Your faith, your discernment. So you gotta, as we get into the rituals, disciplines, and practice, I know you'll probably get into it, but there's got to be some probably prayer life or something in there where you're discerning that, because you got to develop your conscience, right?
Yeah.
To be at a point where you're recognizing that that's what you're supposed to be doing. Like,
yeah.
And I don't want to shoot the gun on it if you talk about it, what your format of doing that is, but how do you get to that level of discernment?
Yeah, no, I think, Joe, I think you said it, man. I think it really is prayer. And for me, being, feel like I'm being led by God to certain people, certain groups. Like, I don't take all invitations. I don't help all people. People who know me know I got a saying. I might not be able to help you, but I can get you some help. So I might not be the person for the job, but for those I feel a call and a sense of responsibility to, you're going to get 100% of me. And I do think that that emanates from my faith. And I just think that also emanates from my love of humanity, love for our people. And I don't need any external motivations for that.
Yeah.
It's not about me getting paid or me getting influence or getting a stage. It truly is just a sense of, okay, like that's the guy, that's the kid, that's him. And I can feel that. I feel a metaphysical divine sense of direction. Like, go do that. And that keeps me churning and going.
The supernatural, right?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
I had said this recently that, when you start to believe in the supernatural things happen to you.
I'm gonna steal that, Marty.
Yeah, you can have it because it's real, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
We so often we make or we try to make logic out of what we think is right all the time without just saying that's something that's divine presence, right?
Yeah.
And being able to follow it, So, man, one of the questions that we had on Monday, young fella had asked about what he was struggling with was his groups of friends trying to kind of holding him back and worrying about trying to excel and do the things that he wants to do and then losing those people. Can you speak to that a little bit and what your thoughts are around it for a young person that might have questions about that?
Yeah. So, first I want to say, because I get, parents all the time who bring their kids to me and they'll say, Mr. Butler, he doesn't need to, care about what his friends think. And, he needs to be more headstrong than that and not be led in this, in a bad direction. I want to just say this, socially, kids care about what other kids think. Like, their social life is super important to them. And I am always thrown off by the kid, especially the younger they are, the kid that says, I don't need friends. Like, I don't want to hang around anybody. I don't care what other people think. That's not quote unquote normal. Like, we're social. In particular, we're talking about African Americans. We're communal. So we're always balancing and bouncing off who we are off of another. In particular, kids do it inside of their peer group. So it's the family who has the most influence, and outside of their family, it's their peer group, right? Which really drives where they are. That's why kids join gangs if there's not a strong relationship with their parents. So I think it's important to me to really teach kids what consequences are for the decisions that they make. Sometimes we can tell kids don't go in a direction and we want them to heed that, right? Because we've done that out of experience. They don't have that point of reference, right? So we have to teach them to think critically about the decisions that they make. So like, if I make a friendship with this guy based on what I know about him and his track record, lets you and I sit down and critically think about where this thing is going to go, right? If I make a friend with this person, right? So let's just take the information that we have in front of us, right? The decisions that we've made so far with the people that we've made it so far, where is it guiding you? Like, so, and that all emanates from us teaching kids like who they are and where they're going. Because I tell kids all the time, if you know where you're going, like, you know who won't get you there. Like, if you know where you're going, you know what won't get you there, right? So I think from a general perspective, we can just teach kids who they are, like help them find a sense of direction, and then teach them how to critically think and problem solve around the negativity that comes into their life. I think for the most part, our kids will make good decisions about that and learn to develop their own fortitude of saying no, or not right now, or that's not the person, and then being able to come back and say, this is a decision I made, Mom and Dad. What do you think? Right? Instead of thinking that we're going to judge them for making the wrong decision and not conferring with us at all, they just go to another peer to bounce that off of.
Good, great stuff. Yeah, and I think that there has to your couple of things, to your point of a kid that says, "Oh, I don't need no friends." That's just odd, right? That wouldn't be your normal.
The next day.
Yeah, that would be your normal how kids are, especially our kids, aren't that way. That's a little different. But then the other piece is, the expectation of there's probably going to be some bad decisions that are made as a young person, right? We all did. We're being honest. We know we all did. But it's the I told my godson this one was I said, hey man, everybody's gonna do dumb stuff. So it's just a matter of you being smart when you do the dumb stuff.
I
Right.
like that. Right.
Because
Right.
you can do dumb stuff and then come out of it, but then there's that
Right.
dumb stuff that you do that changes your whole life, So that's a great answers there. Joe, were you gonna say something there?
Yeah, so let me ask this, and I don't even know if fellas and Marty, I'll pose this to you too. I don't even know if it's a question or how you answer this, but you both said something just now, and it's been honest. And I'm probably, even with Mark on here, I'm probably one of the oldest dudes on this call right now. But on my spiritual journey, this has just been an everlasting question that I navigate. And I think it's been helpful that I'm navigating it because my son's navigated as well. And what that is what you just mentioned. I've often thought about the Bible and Job and so many biblical characters, right? And I felt, when I was younger, as a young Catholic, I was taught, well, if you just follow God's will, you'll always choose the right path. Isn't there something to that? Sometimes God needs us to be molded by fire. Is there some validity to that? Because then at what level is the fire? Is it Daniel in the lion's den? Is it, Malcolm getting assassinated and creating a legacy? Like at what point does a young man begin to understand, am I being molded by fire, or is this just the wrong path and I need to choose otherwise?
I'll answer that.
Yeah.
And then I let you go, Marty. And that's I don't want to pretend to have a solid answer for that, because I think that's even a question adults struggle with, and
Absolutely,
and even theologians struggle with.
yes.
But I'll say this. I think and how I've resolved that according to my faith and my understanding of Scripture and God and our responsibility with God. I was drawn to a scripture, and I shared the scripture with everybody. I was drawn with to a scripture a long time ago, trying to resolve what's me and what's God. Like,
Right.
So I understood that, we were in partnership and there was a covenant. I had a part, he had a part. But Romans 8:28 says, all things work together for good for those who love God, those that are called according to his purpose. Right. So when I began to study that scripture, I was, looking at that all things. And that all things in the Greek means two opposing forces coming together. So it's, I guess as clear as I can make it as far as an example is concerned, is if you would take a battery, and if you had if this battery has a negative side and a positive side. Well, if it had two negative sides, it wouldn't charge anything, like a remote control. If it had two positive sides, it wouldn't power that remote. But if I had the negative and the positive, it gives me a charge. And I think what Paul was saying in that letter is that there's dumb stuff, like Marty said, that we do, and there's good things that we do. But I think if we just, if it is a matter of trusting that we're trying to follow and hear God's voice and doing it, I just think he has a way of taking the bad and the good and putting those things together to eventually lead us to an ultimate good. And that doesn't always mean that things work out, So that's as clear as the answer that I've gotten as far as
that's a great answer, because what I heard you saying there, brother, is there's still some discernment. There's still some development of conscience there. There's some listening to whatever deity, if it's Shiva, Allah, God, Muhammad, whoever that is, if you're listening to another voice besides just your own, I think that's what I get out of that. That's so powerful. I appreciate it.
Yeah, I would agree with that wholeheartedly, and I'd also say that you get to a point, I think, and I think this probably hit me right around 40, where you get to a point where you're comfortable releasing to a higher power. And what I mean by that is, when you stop thinking that you have everything figured out and you start to see clearly that you're being pointed in different directions, or that something shows up, in your perspective, and you actually look at it and say that's the direction I'm supposed to go, versus the direction that you might want to go, right? It took me a long time to get there, and it's funny that you still, as a grown man, you fight it, right? And I'm sure y'all had the same thing. We fight it sometimes, but then when you get back on track to following that and following what is being shown to you, life gets real easy. Things get real, things just start to fall in place one way or the other. For young people, that's going to always be a challenge. As we deal with our sons,
Yes.
I know as I deal with mine, he knows he's got everything figured out, right? And so all I can do is release it, right? Now all I can do is release it with the hope that when he stumbles, because he's going to, when he stumbles, that one, he'll be willing to have a conversation with me, or another brother like myself, and then have a level of understanding of, well, maybe I don't have everything figured out, and then that can guide him eventually to get to that point. Like I said, it took me till 40 to get there. But I think that's to Dr. Butler's point, you gotta, I think, to a degree, let those two forces happen. And sometimes there's going to be a lot of negativity there. And be prayerful that it doesn't turn out to be something that somebody falls completely on their face, and it's something that they can't recover from. But that level of discernment, it takes a good while for us to get there. That's for sure.
And I appreciate that honesty, Marty. And I think for me, as our sons listening on this, or as our sons listen to us, and as other young men engage with each of us in this space, I think what I've heard you all say, between being vulnerable, listening to that voice, discerning, there's a really deep level of thought and something bigger than yourself that I can tell we put into those who we talk to. And I appreciate that because I think too often, some of these young brothers feel that everything is on their shoulders. I talked to a brother in Gary's class, Next Level, who said, since I was 11, I had to do XYZ for my mom. And on one hand, I'm like, I get that. But on the other hand, I'm like, did you? Did you actually have to be the one at 11? I struggle with that, but not having come from that background, I can't debate it. But that was his decision. That was his discernment, right? That this is what I had to do for my mom. And he's struggling. He's about 18 now, still struggling through a certain path, but that's how his journey started. That, he had to make that decision and got in the game so that mom could be taken care of because nobody else was there. It's just tough to hear those kind of things and that level of discernment and say, was he wrong? Was he? I don't know,
You know what I'll tell you though, Joe, is when I hear stories like that of a young brother, you said how old? 11?
He was 11.
So, and I know people like this. I know I grew up around people like that.
Antwan can relate. I know he feels me.
Sure. So, but what I'll say though is that what that speaks to is the incredible level of intelligence that young man probably has that's untapped, right? Because you can't take that on, that level of responsibility on, even if you're doing something wrong, right? If you're dealing drugs at the age of 13 and, for lack of a better term, you're successful at it,
right?
You can't do that without having a certain level of intelligence, right? And what we have to be really cognizant of, and I think intentional about, is not looking at those kinds of young men, specifically, or young women, and look at them and say, oh, they just bad seeds.
Right. Facts.
We can look at those people, and I say, every time I see somebody like that, or I hear somebody like that, I'm like, oh, imagine if we get your hands on that person and give them the tools, right? If they're taking on that level of responsibility, this young man says, I got to take care of my mama, so I'm going to go do dirt in the street, whatever that is, right? And then he's having success in doing dirt in the street. What's that say about him? Yeah, he's doing some bad stuff, but he's also doing it for a reason, and he's also doing it in a manner that he's having success doing bad stuff. We don't want that, of course, but that speaks to what that person's level of intelligence is and their ability to innovate. What we are as a people, right? Creative, innovative, and highly intelligent. And that's what they won't tell you on TV, right? We're
Right.
great sports people, great entertainers, all that. Nah, we're Dr. Butler. That's what we are, right?
That is exactly
So,
what. Exactly.
Yeah, I want to speak to that really quickly
go ahead.
because I almost, and I shouldn't, and this is going to sound a little discriminatory, but I almost prefer having those type of kids in the trenches with me. And this is why I say those kids have become extremely resilient just because of the things that they have had to, not shoulder. Now you don't have to, you don't have to shoulder things like that when you're out there in the streets. You gotta get through it. Like you gotta survive it. Like so I know what that's like. So when you survive that and still have your mind together, that lets me know I don't need your story. I don't need a piece of paper. I don't need third-party information. I don't need a psychiatrist information. I don't even need your mom to if you standing in front of me and I know what you just came, I already know what's in you.
Yeah.
So, let's get to work. Let's start there. And I agree, Marty, people don't talk about that part because we come from this diagnostic model, this medical model. What's the problem? What's the issue? These kids got some strengths. And I know if you've gotten that far and you're standing in front of me, brother, I know what you got in you.
Yeah. But that speaks to us if you think of Black people, especially here in America, in our history, right? If you look at the levels of oppression that we have had to deal with for over 400 years, but here the three of us are having this conversation, right? And having had some, successes in our lives, whatever you want to call them, that speaks to the level of resilience that we are internally, right? I'm a firm believer, and I'm no scientist or anything like that, but I'm a firm believer that that's our genetic makeup. Through evolution that we've had, that's what got us here, right? We've had to survive incredible levels of oppression.
Epigenetics.
Yeah. So you look at a kid who's dealing with a level of oppression, in the streets or whatever you want to call it. He has all this in him to survive, and not only survive but create, innovate, and be great if given the opportunity.
And the one thing I'll add to that's important because I don't want anybody that might listen in on this or look at it later. One thing that's important to that is what you said, Dr. Butler. The three of us, the Attorney Davises, the brothers of NABSW, somebody got to be there for that brother. He's telling his story. Somebody got to be in front of him, like you said. I ain't got no questions. Come with me. I got something for you. Yep. Somebody has to be standing in front of that brother. And brothers, that's what we're here for. That's what we do. We got to stand up and be standing in and be like, I got you. Let's get to work. Because they're looking. They're looking for us. Know that.
Yeah, they might not even know that they're looking for us.
They mostly don't.
But when they find us, when they find somebody that puts hands on them, in a good way, then what do we see? And I'm sure Dr. Butler has seen a ton of kids take off. But and I want to do this real quick, Doc. Give us a little bit about your organization, what exactly you all do, so that we can talk about that a little bit as well.
Yeah, so I started a men's group, I think about 2 years ago, and actually it was in person. I heard you all talking earlier about your transition, made me think about us. It started in person from me and another gentleman that I knew, just wanted to reach out to men. And it grew, and then the pandemic hit, and I took it online, and it like tripled when we got online. And so I've been vacillating back and forth, trying to get it in person. I tried it one time in person, and it wasn't as successful as I wanted to be because everybody was still online. So we're still working on that. So, but it really is that group is to really tap the heart of men and help them, find their purpose, right? And help to, I think my vulnerability helps guys to open up what's hurting them and give them an opportunity to do it in a group setting. And we just heal each other, right? So I do that once a month. We meet every first Saturday, and I actually work from a plan. It's called a 3P man plan that I actually got from a young black brother. He's a lawyer, I think. He just passed his exam. He think he's like 24, 25. He got this plan around manhood, which is around productivity, protection, and producing. Right, there's a strategic thing that we do. We got an assessment scale that we use in all of that. So we measure ourselves by that scale and talk about things that we can learn for our families, for our communities, and giving back and stuff like that. So we do that once a month. And then I have a youth group for boys between the ages of 10 and 16. I say 10 and 16, but I usually net all ages in. But I started in a school. I went down to a school and I was doing some counseling there with one kid, and I saw that they were suspending a lot of the young black boys.
Mm-hmm.
And I said, why are these kids getting suspended? Oh, they problems, they whatever. I said, well, give them to me. I mean, y'all suspending them, they going home. Give them to me. We can just keep them in school. They're like, what are you gonna do with them? I just give them to me. I already know why they get suspended. So out of getting those kids together, I met with them in the classroom. I just asked them, what's going on with you guys? It's the same story. These guys got greatness in them. They're not in the right climate for whatever circumstances are happening in their life. Been there. So I created a program, a 13-step program on certain areas that I felt like these kids were missing in their life. I started with these group of kids. These kids went from getting suspended to the top kids in the school. They were walking kids to class, all type of stuff. And the program ended up getting shut down. This was out of my city. So I brought it, actually just brought it back to my city and started it there. But it's just really about getting with young black kids who just need a face, man. Just need somebody. Y'all know this before this has happened to y'all. You ever just looked in a kid's face and like when he knows you believe in him, and like that look, like that. When I get that, when we see that, then it's on. And so we just help these kids get these skills that they're going to need for life. And then really the preparation that I felt like I didn't get around being a black man in America. We talk, we have conversations. I ease it in, you got to be careful. But we do that once a month as well. So,
Nice.
So I want to see, Doc, if that program that the young fella got for you, is that something you could share with us?
Absolutely.
Okay, that's great. That's one thing. Absolutely. But the other thing is, we're going to be moving Black Man Lab around the country. This should have happened already, but of course the pandemic. And we're going to be looking for brothers to be our voices in different places. So I'm just giving you a heads up. I got you locked in, and I'm going to call on you because
please do.
You speak too much to what we do, and we need right-minded folks to help us to change the paradigm of what our communities are looking like. And we know unequivocally that if our Black men are in a better place at a young age, then our communities are in a much better place.
Yeah.
We're definitely going to do that.
Absolutely.
We are already up against the clock. I knew this was going to happen, Joe. And I knew especially with this brother, this is going to happen. But what we want to make sure that we do is a couple of things. Number one, we want to get your habits, rituals, and disciplines that you do on a daily basis that keep you moving forward. We know that the habits, rituals, and disciplines are super important for our young people to start to put into their life and help them to move in the right direction. Hopefully, when we do that, we get one or two things that people pick up on and they want to utilize. So, what are yours? What are you doing as far as
so I think probably primarily just, like I'm a man of prayer, so my prayer life is important to me. And I even get online every day at 6 a.m. my time, and I pray online for people and stuff like that. So prayer is just a big thing for me. It was my rock when I was suicidal most of my teenage years. So, I get my source of strength from there. So I do that every day and a couple times a day sometimes. Like I was really sloppy with my time growing up, so I didn't have a sense of time. And I met a couple of people that mentored me and showed me all the time that I was wasting. So I've learned to schedule my time so I don't do anything that's not on the schedule. So, my time is scheduled from 5 a.m. to 11 p.m. every day. So I just think, when you know where you're going, you know how much time it's going to take you to get there. So scheduling your time is just important, as much of it as you can. And then every day I try to do something to be a blessing to somebody else. Like if it's just picking up the phone to call them, sending them a text message, a tweet, gifting them. I want to do that every day just to show that sense of gratitude. So that's a ritual for me. And for me, man, I just think the creator is in the people business. So I'm always wanting to be about people. And there's enough people around us that are hurting that need something that we have. It may just be a kind word, a smile, a hug, or maybe it's some of your resources. So that's really important to me. And those things I think have kept me going. And I'm big on just loving my family. Like I'm real serious about my wife and my kids. And I want them to know that I'm serious about them. And I make that a point to them and to other people around me that I take them really seriously. So, off the top of my head, that's some of the things I think that just kind of keep me focused.
Yeah, well, those are great things. Number one, and one of the things that I've picked up recently, I don't know, you might have been the one when we had our call before that said that same thing about touching somebody, what you said, and I've started that. That I try to do every day. I make sure that I'm calling somebody who I don't normally talk to, and just reach out. Yeah, and just reach out and touch. And it's funny that every time that I do that, it's I think it winds up being uplifting for them, but it's even more uplifting for me.
That's it. Yeah. That's it.
That's a good one there. I think people could take to.
That is actually a clinically proven cure for mild depression.
Is that right?
Doing something significant, but when you feel down, go do something significant for somebody.
I love it. Joe, what about you, man?
Oh, yeah, I didn't know we was going around the horn.
I'm just going to you. I'm not going to say mine. I just wanted you. You were sitting there. I saw you in deep thought, brother. I saw you in deep thought. So
No, I appreciate everything that he's saying, but no, mine are pretty simple, man. I get up each morning, I meditate. I'm from learning from Brother Palm, I'm a Buddhist Catholic, so I wake up morning meditating, man. I just thank the universe for everything that it's given us, all the opportunities we have to serve others. Just gratitude. I just ask the universe, how can I serve you today? What is it you need me to do today? And I start every morning with that. That's one of my rituals. And then prayer in the evening. I end it with, like I said, I'm Catholic, so I end it with God and just thanking him. Again, starting and ending with gratitude. I don't know. Gratitude is like just really, really big with me because I think you can just about accomplish anything with gratitude.
Yeah.
People will see through your authentic self when you're truly, genuinely grateful for things. And then working out. I walk 5 to 7 miles a day, and my 19-year-old son got me working out with him. So I don't know if I got bigger, this shirt just got tighter. I don't know what's going on, but I'm probably not going to be able to wear this shirt again. So,
you're over there wearing a medium.
I'm wearing a medium for sure. But no, it's been great working out with my son. That's one of the just benefits of doing the right thing and just trying to, better yourself and improve yourself. Yeah. Is who knew at 19 years old, that's when me and my youngest son would grow tighter than we probably had been since he was 6, just working out together every day. So yeah, that's kind of what I do.
That's beautiful, man. That's beautiful. And that gratitude piece that you talk about, man, I literally now every morning when I wake up, and I think it's COVID might have helped this, but every morning when I wake up, I say thank you, literally out loud. I'm just like, I open my eyes, and as groggy as I might be, I'm like, thank you. I'm here. And then all the things that you're grateful for, and I'll repeat those out loud, just say what I'm grateful for, because some folks ain't got it. Some folks don't have anything that we have. So that, and then that I've been back on my grind of being in yoga every day in the hot yoga box.
Okay. Love this yoga.
Yeah, today I went today, and I when I left out of there, the lady that is at the front, when I walked by, she's like, "Have a great day, sir." And I said, "Yeah." I said, "I'll be quite honest, that wasn't the best I had to give today." And she's like, "Well, at least you were here." And I said, "Yeah, I had to be here." I said, "I couldn't
I
let
love her response. Yeah.
yeah." So, look, man, great inaugural session of lab results. Dr. Butler, can't thank you enough, man.
Dr.
Thank
Butler,
you
you're
so
the man,
much.
brother.
We want you in this space, brother. We want you to, stay connected to Black Man Lab. And I'll be reaching out to you if you are ever in Atlanta on a Monday.
Ooh.
You have to be in the space.
Man, I'm coming. I was just telling somebody the other day, it's a shame. I've been all over the United States. I've never been to Atlanta.
Oh, brother.
I'm coming.
Black man, you gotta be here, brother. You gotta be here. So just let me know. Let Joe and myself know when you're coming, and we'll make sure that you are in the space, and we would love to have you, bro. So thank you again. Truly appreciate it. And you know what? Since it's just us three, but we still gonna do it, man. We still gonna do it, Joe. If y'all can link up, we have a tradition. We end every session with a tradition that we call a link in this chain. So if you could just repeat after me. I'm a link in this chain.
I'm a link in this chain.
And it won't break here.
And it won't break here.
I'm a link in this chain.
I'm a link in this chain.
And it won't break here.
And it won't break here.
We are links in this chain.
We are links in this chain.
And we won't break here.
And we won't break here.
Ashe. Brothers, thank you, man.
Appreciate you, brothers.
Yes, sir.
Joe, thanks for working it out, bro.
Man.
I didn't think I was gonna have my co-pilot today, Doc, but he came through.
Man.
Joe, I gotta call you, man. I gotta get tips for the beard. When I first saw the beard,
he's wild, ain't he?
He on another level. I'm calling to get tips,
brother. I appreciate you so much.
I'm struggling. Yes, sir.
Hey, man, we all have our struggles, man. Love you, brothers. Y'all be good, man.
All right, love y'all, man.